Kieran, there are a whole lot of reasons why it's a really good thing for agriculture to be aiming at, not the least of which is that the market access, the export markets that are so important for Australian agriculture will increasingly become dependent on agriculture's ability to demonstrate how it is contributing to emissions reduction globally. And this isn't a will happen, this is and is happening now. Those sorts of requirements to markets already exist. They're only going to get more stringent, more thorough, and they're going to be more evidence-based. We won't just be able to say that we're doing it. We will actually have to demonstrate through data, through a really robust process, that we are reducing emissions as a sector to be able to access those markets. And in doing so, there'll be market opportunities. There'll be premium markets if we get ahead of the game and we can provide those credentials. So there's the market element, but the other really important and very critical element, even if those market pressures weren't there, climate-friendly agriculture is sustainable agriculture. It is just how we can guarantee sustainable farming practice into the future, to guarantee those multi-generational farms for generations to come.
What do you say to the argument made by Matt Canavan and others that this will lock up too much farming land with trees and other measures like that? Because there is an argument put by David Littleproud, one of his colleagues, that carbon farming is a way to not only sequester carbon but also to have ongoing grazing of land or whatever else in terms of farming productivity. What's your response to the suggestion that it locks up too much farming land?
Farmers are only going to enter agreements to plant trees or divert farmland into other uses on the basis that it is financially viable and sustainable. Farmers aren't stupid. They're not going to do that, for no reason. And there's no suggestion anywhere that they're going to be forced to do it against their will. That's just not on the table at all and shouldn't be on the table. So if there is a clear market signal and an opportunity to do it in a way that is sustainable, there is no issue with that. And then the farmland being taken out of production, the market will sort that out in terms of if that does have an impact on the availability of food coming from that agricultural land. My view is that it's going to be minimal. It probably won't have an impact. And the market will provide the direction in terms of what the most suitable use of the natural capital assets that farmers manage are into the future.
The National Farmers Federation says agriculture, in fact, is in a unique position to cash in because, different to other industries, it has got the capacity to sequester carbon. And again, I point to what David Littleproud said in the AFR today, where he says business producers can also get two benefits. One, the payment for making their land more biodiverse, but also then to be able to put a green tick or, the biodiversity stamp on their exports. That also makes their product more attractive to some markets.
So it is absolutely true that agriculture is in the relatively unique position that it is a sector that is incredibly impacted by climate change, but that can also have a very positive impact on mitigating climate change as well through carbon sequestration, through other measures that help with mitigating the effects of climate change into the future. And there will be opportunities. David Littleproud is spot on. There will be direct market opportunities through providing ecosystem services that provide sustainability outcomes. And there is the possibility of premiums in the marketplace, as I mentioned earlier as well. If, we're seeing that consumers are increasingly willing to pay for products that have that sort of sustainability stamp on them. So there is enormous opportunity there, and agriculture is trying to position itself and get the mechanisms and the frameworks and the programs in place to be able to do that.
Is there a problem if the government were to carve out agriculture from any commitment of net zero by 2050? Because would that then preclude the benefits that we're talking about today?
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. It's pretty hypocritical to say, we'll take the benefits, thank you very much, but we won't take the losses. We need to participate in this in a way that is sensible. Now, Michael McCormack's referred to the New Zealand solution, and I think it's been a bit mischaracterised in terms of the way the New Zealand solution has been put forward, in that they've just carved agriculture out. They haven't done that. It's been not included in the initial part of their emissions trading scheme, but there's a very clear pathway for agriculture to be part of that scheme by 2025, and a whole lot of science and research that is going into the transition about how that happens. And that's exactly what we need to do here, so that the transition into agriculture participating is, the negative impacts of that are minimised as much as they can be, so that the positive gains can be realised.
Okay, so the warning is be careful what you wish for, in terms of if you carve out the industry altogether, they could also miss out from the benefits. What about the mood within the farming communities? What are you picking up, Richard Heath, in terms of whether or not they're more in line with the Farmers Federation view of the world and yours, or some of the National Party members?
Look, Kieran, all I can go on is that every sectorally based organisation now in Australian agriculture, all the advocacy organisations, have emissions targets reductions. And some of them are more ambitious than the NFF target. You've got the red meat industry aiming at carbon neutral by 2030. You've got the pig industry sooner than that, talking about even being carbon positive. So, if you just look at the weight of evidence in terms of the number of organisations and bodies in agriculture that have targets in place that are advocating for action on emissions reduction, I think you'd have to say that the industry as a whole is more in line with the NFF than the National Party.
Managing Director of the Australian Farm Institute, Richard Heath, I appreciate your time. Thanks for that.